Kindness is defined as the quality of being friendly, generous, and considerate. I want to just take a second and dive a little deeper into that definition. So let's start with friendly. What does it mean to be friendly? Does it mean you need to be friends with everybody? Absolutely not. It's humanly impossible. Being friendly simply means to have a pleasant disposition. Now, there are some instances where this may not be the solution, but we'll get to that a little later. What about the second part of kindness? Generosity. To be generous means to be willing and ready to give more of something than is strictly necessary. For example, when you have a cordial exchange with someone, let's say at work in the morning when you first get in, conversation typically goes something like this. Hey, how's it going? Hey, it's going okay. How are you doing? I'm doing great, thanks. Now, for someone who doesn't do small talk or this specific nicety, choosing to participate in this short and sweet interaction could be you being generous. However, for most people, this is all just a reflexive conversation that we have with people we're acquainted with. If that is the case, being generous in this situation could simply mean that you ask the person why they're just doing okay. Being the one who digs a little deeper into a potential conversation with someone shows that person that you're willing to give them your time, and that is the greatest and simplest way of being generous. The last part to the trifecta that is kindness is to be considerate. When you're being considerate, you are being careful of thought. Now, if kindness were a pie, let's say, consideration would be a very big and important slice, simply because of the word thought. It requires that you think before you speak or act. If you have the choice, which you do, from the way that you handle, react, or initiate any interaction, greeting someone with, hey, as opposed to, hey, is a choice you make, and it dictates not only the way conversations can go, but how the people end up feeling at the end of that conversation. Now that we're all familiar with what kindness means in words, let's talk about another aspect of kindness. How does it make you feel when someone is kind to you? Right now, you might be playing back some situations where someone did something extraordinary for you, but being kind does not always have to be big gestures. Being kind can mean simply smiling at someone, or, as I stated earlier, asking how someone is. Previously, I had given you an example of the whole greeting situation and how to approach it. When you ask someone how they are and they respond with fine, you automatically think, okay, sorry I asked. And I'm sure that everyone here has responded at least once in their life with the answer fine, because I know I have. But would you have answered that way if you had taken even half a second to think and consider your response? If you had evaluated the way you wanted someone to respond to you if they were to ask you the same question, I know that as children, one of the first moral lessons we learn is to treat others the way we wish to be treated. The mindset I like to have is, how is what I'm going to say or do make me feel, and how is it going to make the other person feel? If I can come out of it at the end of that, feeling good about what happened and confident that the other party is good as well, it doesn't make sense to not be kind. Now, the human brain has this extraordinary ability to make constant and unlimited excuses for things. They can be the dumbest excuses in the world, but your mind will try and justify why you should not do something. Personally, I struggle with the excuses that circle around being ignorant. For the longest time, I believed ignorance truly was bliss. If I was unaware or I chose to ignore the way someone else felt, then it did not concern me. In a narcissistic world, that is the case. And as much as this world is self-obsessed, it doesn't have that much effort to care. It doesn't take that much effort to care. Have you ever heard the phrase, it takes more muscles to frown than it does smile? Well, technically, there is no scientific proof of that statement. However, there is evidence that smiling creates a feel-good reaction in your brain. And when someone smiles at you, isn't it just a natural reaction to smile back? So, one could potentially make an argument that smiling at someone is an example of being generous, and even giving them a gift. One, that they can obviously choose to accept or not, but if they do choose to accept it and they smile back, And your generosity or kindness is the reason that they had a slight feel-good reaction. Not to mention, you yourself got something out of it as well. Now, I know you're familiar with the glass half empty or glass half full metaphor, but I want you to think of that glass of water a little differently. Imagine a glass is half full of water, and the half that is full is half the population using kindness as a foundation for their lives. Now, I know that half the population is quite a stretch, but for this metaphor, we're going to be optimistic and say half. Now, I want you to imagine one single drop of water being released into the glass. What happens? It ripples. And even though you cannot see the difference, it is that much more full of water than it was before. Filling the world with kindness is a half thought. It is a choice to address people with respect and value. Being kind to people has an effect on both you and them. It takes very little effort on your own part and could even inspire others to live kindly. Before you know it, that glass will be overflowing, all because you made the choice to be friendly, considerate, and generous. Being kind is the biggest ripple effect in the universe, so why not make some waves?